G'day, welcome back to RC Model Reviews. Time for another quick review, so you can decide whether it's looking at the full review, which will be coming up shortly. Now, this is the GT220mm Fire Dancer FPV Racing Mini Quad. And I mean, all mini quads look the same, don't they? So I'm going to run through the feature list. First of all, motors 2306 2400 kV. These are coupled to quite aggressive 5 by 4.8 inch props. So this is going to have a pretty good, in fact, it's pretty peppy. It's a pretty fast quad, I've got to tell you now. It's pretty peppy. They are connected to the ESCs, which are 35 amp 6S capable BL Heli D-Shot ESCs. There's a 4-in-1 board there, and the connection is via these cables here with a nylon mesh protection, but it's not taped to the arms, but you can do that yourself. Not a big deal. Sitting on top of that 4-in-1 ESC board is the flight controller. It's an F4 omnibus with OSD and an SD card for data logging. It does not have a current shunt. Woo! So you will not get current figures, you will not get milliamps consumed figures. That's a shame. I really like those as an option. Only a few more bucks for that. Shame they didn't include it, especially on a high performance quad. Video transmitter is sitting up here in a deck in the back, you can see, and that video transmitter is switchable from 25 to 600 milliwatts, 200 milliwatts in the middle. It comes set to 600 milliwatts, so the first thing you should do out of the box is set it, turn the power down. You don't need 600 milliwatts. And if you have this on the bench for any length of time, say you're setting up your OSD through your goggles, then it will burn out. It really does get very, very hot. So turn it down to 200 at least, or 25, depending on what's legal in your country, of course. Right, 48 channels, which means the normal 40 channels plus 8 channels in the band from 5.3 to 5.6 gigahertz. If your goggles or ground station supports that, that can be quite handy because it means you're not going to get stomped on by someone using the other legal 40 channels or parts thereof. This has an RP-SMA connector, not an SMA. Boo! SMA is a much more common option, and it's better if you standardize on something. RP-SMA, what were they thinking? Should be noted also that this connector is mounted directly on the PC board, which makes it fragile. The PC board is nowhere near as strong as carbon. And that brings us, of course, to the antenna. It's a pagoda antenna, and it's not very well made. Some of the boards are at an angle to each other, so it'll have a rather weirdo radiation pattern. May or may not affect your flying. Also, when you look at the difference in quality control, yours may be perfect or may be worse. It connects to the thing through a very short, very stiff coaxial cable. So if you're flying along and you hit a tree, huge stress on the base of this thing, which is going to break your FPV transmitter board right off, right along there, because fiberglass is not very strong. So bad design. There should be a support bracket, or this should be out on more of an angle. Something to consider. Right, moving on, we have a camera up the front. They say it is a 1080p CCD camera. I call foul. I don't think there are any 1080p CCD cameras, so it's either not 1080p or it's not CCD. Looking at it, it behaves a bit like a CMOS camera, and I think it probably is a CMOS camera. You can't believe what they write in the things. Anyway, you can see this footage here I took in a brief flight, the first maiden flight. You can see its resolution's okay, but light handling is not the best. The colors are pretty poppy. It has the hallmarks of a CMOS camera, a fairly cheap CMOS camera. The lens also not quite wide enough for my liking. It looks like it's about might be a 2.5 or even a 2.8, because I found that I had to have the camera angled down quite a bit to see the horizon when I was landing. Could do with a wider lens, in my humble opinion. Right, receiver, and this is where things get a bit bad. You see this piece of wire hanging out the side here? This is I got a FrSky Bind and Fly version. This is the receiver. It is a crap receiver. It is a D8. You should have an X series receiver in a quad with these specs. Also, an X series receiver will have cables, aerials that are coax with a separate pigtail, so you can get them out of the way. This basically, it runs right beside the aluminium frame there. It's going to suck the signal out of that piece of wire, and if you're flying this way on, then this aluminium shell is going to completely block the signal at relatively short ranges, so you're going to get fail-safes. It's going to fail-safe out of the sky. So it's very important that you check the fail-safe is set up if you plan to use the receiver provided with the plug and fly, with the bind and fly versions. I would recommend against getting bind and fly. Go for the standard one and put your own XSR, XSM, whatever receiver in there. Don't even waste your time with this little tit-ass thing here with this piece of wire, which is only going to fail-safe you into the deck at pretty short range. Now, aluminium shell. This is the feature of this thing. Look, see the CNC aluminium shell here? This is supposed to protect all the electronic goodness inside, and it is quite a hefty piece of metal, but it is very, very paper thin in places. Where they've milled these little pieces here, that is super paper thin. Remains to be seen whether it will provide that protection. It does, as I say, it does provide shielding for this crap ass antenna here, which is a bit of a negative. Now the frame, 5mm carbon arms, quite well designed in some regards. Notice where they've got the bolts here, they've actually put a bit of extra meat in here, bit of stress relief there. That's quite good. But notice they put a white plastic pad, white rubber pad on the bottom, because There is nothing standard to protect your battery against these screw heads, and it's an underslung battery. So what would happen is you put your battery in there, have a hard landing, these screw heads will penetrate your LiPo, make the smoke come out. Really, 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 let me say one more, really bad design, needs to be fixed. You can fix it by putting your own thing in here, but you really want that nice black, super sticky, super grippy plastic. This stuff is not like the one flight I had, I duffed the landing and the battery flew out. So there's no point in having a buzzer and things like that to find your quad when it's crashed if the battery's going to fly out every time you land, because this rubber just isn't sticky enough. And they don't provide you with any rubber, but they do, however, provide you with a little spanner for doing up your antenna connector and your nuts and bolts, made of carbon, worthless, they fret out, waste of time. And they provide you with this battery plate for protecting the bottom of your battery. But look at it, it's a battery plate on the bottom of your battery should be solid. If you land on stones or gravel or something, stones will go through this hole, puncture your battery. It's worse than useless. And who the hell is Zorro? What's he got to do with this quad? Nothing I can find connects Zorro to this quad. So I can only assume they got a whole lot of these really cheap from somewhere, decided to include them. So that's it. That is the quad. That's the mini review. Quick summary, flies really nicely. Seems to be really nice, apart from the downsides I pointed out. Full review coming up. I'll get some more flight hours on it, some more footage. You'll be able to decide for yourself. In the meantime, questions, comments, put them in the usual place. I'll do my best to answer them or include them in the final review. Thank you for watching another mini review from rcmodelreviews.com.